Imagine a life where every sunrise brings the familiar ache of barely making ends meet. A life where your hands are calloused, your spirit willing, but the tide of fortune just never seems to turn your way. What if I told you the true barrier wasn't the market or the economy or even your skill, but something far more intimate, far more powerful, your own mind? This is the story of Elias, a carpenter with hands like seasoned oak. He knew the grain of every wood, could coax beauty from a rough plank, and build a table that would outlast generations. Yet his own table at home often felt bare. He worked long hours in his small, dusty workshop, the scent of sawdust a constant companion. Bills piled up like wood shavings. He saw his peers, some less skilled perhaps, driving newer trucks, building bigger homes. A quiet bitterness began to fester. He blamed the economy, the unfair clients, the lack of opportunities. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, his old saw, a faithful companion for decades, finally snapped, its blade dull and worn. He looked at the broken tool, then at his own reflection in the grimy window. He looked tired, defeated. That night, staring at the ceiling, Elias remembered an old client, a retired businessman. The man had once said, "Elias, the wood has potential, but it needs a vision. So do we." The words, dismissed years ago, now echoed in the quiet darkness. What if he was the problem? What if his mind, not his hammer, was the dullest tool? He started small. Instead of scrolling through bad news, he began to read. Not about carpentry techniques, but about people who had built lives from nothing. He devoured stories of entrepreneurs, philosophers, even scientists. He noticed a pattern. They all thought differently. They saw problems as puzzles, not dead ends. He began to observe his own thoughts. Each time he caught himself saying, "I can't afford that," or "It's impossible," he would stop. He would rephrase it. "How could I afford that?" Or "What steps would it take?" It felt awkward, almost foolish at first. His wife, Martha, noticed the change. He still worked hard, but now his workshop had a new energy. He started to see opportunities where he once saw only obstacles. He offered to teach a carpentry class at the community center, something he'd always dismissed as a waste of time. To his surprise, it filled up. He used the extra income to buy new tools, not just for repair, but for expansion. Not everyone understood. Old friends poked fun. "Still reading those fancy books, Elias. Don't forget where you came from." Doubt crept in. There were days he wanted to throw it all away. But then he remembered the snapped saw blade, the tired reflection. He persisted. He started marketing his custom furniture online, something he'd been intimidated by for years. He learned basic photography, wrote compelling descriptions. A small order came in from another state, then another. He wasn't just building furniture, he was building a brand. He started hiring apprentices, teaching them not just the craft, but the mindset.
He didn't just pay them wages, he invested in their skills, their potential. Years passed. The small, dusty workshop expanded into a thriving studio. Elias still worked with his hands, still loved the smell of sawdust, but his days were different. He was no longer just a carpenter. He was a creator, a mentor, an entrepreneur. He could afford the best tools, provide for his family with ease, and even contribute significantly to his community. His wealth wasn't just in his bank account. It was in the respect he commanded, the lives he touched, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing he had built it, not just with wood, but with thought. Elias discovered that true wealth isn't merely acquired, it's cultivated. It begins not with an external change, but with an internal shift. He didn't wait for circumstances to improve. He rewired his own internal narrative. He understood that the greatest limitation isn't outside you, but between your ears. By changing how he thought, he changed what he built. So, what limiting beliefs are you holding on to? What internal wiring needs an upgrade? Your hands are capable, your spirit is willing, but true mastery begins when you master your mind.